Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Gurudev. Nitai Gaura Premanandi, Savior of the whole world, Srila Prabhupada ki. Well, welcome today's Saturday Srimad Bhagavatam class. Thanks for coming. Thanks for tuning in. If you're listening online, we're reading from the 7th canto, chapter 14, Ideal Family Life. So we're going to talk about Grihastha Ashram. So, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Thank you, Prabhu. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 14, text number 5. Yavadartam upasino dehe gehe cha panditaha virakto raktavat tatra nirloke naratam naset Yavadartam upasino dehe gehe cha panditaha virakto raktavat tatra nirloke naratam nyaset. Please repeat. Yavadartam upasino gehe gehe karpantita virakto raktavatatra nirloke naratam naset. Word for word. Yavat artam, as much endeavor for one's livelihood as necessary. Upasinaha, earning. Dehe, in the body. Gehe, in family matters. Cha, also. Pandita, one who is learned. Virakta, not at all attached. Raktavat, as if very much attached. Tatra, in this nirloke, human society. Naratam, the human form of life. Nyaset, one should depict. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. While working to earn translation. While working to earn his livelihood as much as necessary to maintain body and soul together, one who is actually learned should live in human society unattached to family affairs, although externally appearing very much attached. Please repeat. While working to earn his livelihood as much as necessary to maintain body and soul together, one who is actually learned should live in human society unattached to family affairs, although externally appearing very much attached. Purport. This is the picture of ideal family life. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked Ramananda Roy about the goal of life, Ramananda Roy described it in different ways, according to the recommendations of the revealed scriptures. And finally, Sri Ramananda Roy explained that one may stay in his own position, whether as Brahmana, a Shudra, a sannyasi, or whatever, but one must try to inquire about life's goal. Atato Brahma Jignasa. This is the proper utilization of the human form of life. When one misuses the gift of the human form by unnecessarily indulging in animal propensities of eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, and does not try to get out of the clutches of Maya, which subjects one to repeated birth, death, old age, and disease, one is again punished by being forced to descend to the lower species and undergo evolution according to the laws of nature. Prakrite kriyamanani gunair karmani sarvashaha. By being completely under the grip of material nature, the living entity must evolve again from the lower species to the higher species until he at last returns to human life and gets the chance to be freed from material clutches. A wise man, however, learns from the Shastras and Guru that we living entities are all eternal, but are put into troublesome conditions because of associating with different modes under the laws of nature. He therefore concludes that in the human form of life, he should not endeavor for unnecessary necessities, but should live a very simple life, just maintaining body and soul together. Certainly one requires some means of livelihood, and according to one's varna and ashram, this means of livelihood is described in the Shastras. One should be satisfied with this. Therefore, instead of hankering for more and more money, a sincere devotee of the Lord tries to invent some ways to earn his livelihood, and when he does so, Krishna helps him. Earning one's livelihood, therefore, is not a problem. The real problem is how to get free from the bondage of birth, death, and old age. Attaining this freedom and not inventing unnecessary necessities is the basic principle of Vedic civilization. One should be satisfied with whatever means of life comes automatically. The modern materialistic civilization is just the opposite of the ideal civilization. Every day, the so-called leaders of modern society invent something contributing to a cumbersome way of life that implicates people more and more in the cycle of birth, death, old age, and disease. Om Gana Timrandasya Jananjanan Salakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Nina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobisham Shapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Karamayam Didanti Svapadantikam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimati Tamal Krishna Goswami Niti Namane Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Sunyavari Paskatati Shatarine Vanchakalpatarubhaischa Kripasinivaseva Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam about the Grihastha Ashram, an ideal family life. And we've heard this so many times before, but of course by the repetition of hearing, it finally begins to stick. We have to hear it again and again and again. And it's so nice to have this opportunity. We're so fortunate. The Srimad Bhagavatam is the cream of all Vedic knowledge. It's the essence. It's the most wonderful literary incarnation of Krishna, right? Think of that. Krishna in a book form, and we can read it, and that's worship of Krishna. And there's so much in the Bhagavatam, and it goes so deep that it's a lifetime. It's a lifetime should be spent to study it, right? I came a little late to the program, but I'm trying to catch up. Some young people here, they've been studying since they were very small. And, so fortunate to take birth in this movement and to be understanding the varnas and the ashrams, right? There's 4 of each, 4 varnas and ashrams. And the grihastha ashram is the one that most of us are going to be in, right? Because we have material desires. When you're a brahmachari, when you're young and you're studying, you put all that aside, right? And you study under the guru's instruction, brahmachari. And then when you're a little older, if you're really advanced, you can move towards sannyas. But most of us know we're gonna get married. We're gonna have family life, and family life is not. It's described both ways in the Bhagavatam, right, and in the Gita. And Prabhupada used to say to his disciples, if you can, remain celibate, remain brahmachari. It goes much easier life. If you get married, you got to get a house, you got to get furniture, you got to get a job, you got to provide all these things. Children will come, you got to take care of the kids. So he said, much easier. However, he also said that, and as Prabhupada points out here, the grahastha, there is an ideal form of family life. And we shouldn't live in family life for our own sense gratification. That is part of it. That's the only ashram that allows for sense gratification. And of course, that sense gratification, the topmost sense gratification is sex life. And so sex life is only to be used to beget Krishna conscious children. That's the only reason for there to be intercourse, is to have children in Krishna consciousness and to raise them as devotees. And this is the ideal form of family life. And it's actually just as good as sannyas, because it's unique for the persons that need to be in that ashram. You have to be in the right ashram for yourself, right? When I first joined, I was in my 30s, and my spiritual master called me in and he said, I think I may have been Bhakta Dan, or maybe I had just been given the name Dharma, I don't know, but I can't remember exactly. But my Guru Maharaj brought me into his quarters upstairs, said, what's your plan? What's your plan in Krishna consciousness? I said, well, Gurudev, I want to take initiation, second initiation, and then in about a year, I want to take sannyas. And he didn't laugh in my face, but he said, do you trust me? I said, yes, Gurudev. He said, will you listen to what I say? I said, yes, Gurudev. He said, you're not cut out for sannyas. You should be married. You should be in the grahastha ashram, because you have a job, you're getting money, you can maintain a house, you should have a wife and kids. And he goes, that's your nature. He goes, do you trust that? I said, yes, Gurudev, implicitly. He says, okay, good, because I have a girl I want you to meet. And he said, you don't have to marry her, but I just want you to associate with her and see if this would work out. Well, it didn't work out. And the next one didn't work out. And the next one didn't work out. And the next one didn't work out. So I don't know if I was secretly sabotaging that, because I wanted to remain free to travel, because my spiritual master was traveling a lot. And I got to actually travel a lot and see him in different places. And he was in England for a while. I got to go there a couple times. And after a couple years of this, he said, actually, because you weren't married all this time, it's enabled you to come see me more, and you've been able to come do service. So I said, yeah, that's what I think in my heart I really wanted, But it was just a pause, because then I had I told my spiritual master, Gurudev, I really need to be married. And he goes, I'm glad you finally realized that. And now this time, will you listen to all those people that try to help you and not waste their time? I said, yes, Gurudev. So for me, it was a matter of understanding the proper role and what my role was. You come to the movement, you can be a little bit ignorant, right? I want to be a sannyasi. I want to be a brahmachari all my life. Well, what's your nature? If you got a job and you're out in the world and you have to deal with women, you have to deal with money, you have to deal with power and wealth and difficulties, the grihastha ashram, for a man, having a wife is a safe harbor. What's a safe harbor mean? Safe harbor is where, like, if you're out at sea, right? If you're in the middle of the ocean, what are the waves like? They're pretty big, right? They can be really huge swells. If there's a storm, well, you're in trouble, right? So you want to get to the shore and get in where there's a little bay, right? Or an inlet, a harbor. Because then you drive your boat in there and it's a safe place, right? The storm is not as severe. And you have a better chance of surviving. Because if you go out in the world and you think, oh, I can do this. I can be a brahmachari and have a job and be around women and be around all the craziness of the material world, right? No, it's not going to work. You're going to fall down. But for years, I fought it. I fought, and I was working and still trying to, I was being introduced to nice young ladies, but they just wasn't a right match. And finally, a friend of mine named Urjaswat Prabhu, he's a very senior disciple of Srila Prabhupada. He's since left his body. But Urjaswat would tell me, Dharma, there's no bachelor ashram. You can't be a bachelor all your life. There's no bachelor ashram. You're either brahmachari or you're grihastha. And I always took that to heart and said, yes, I'm working on it. And then when the time was right, the Lord was very kind and he made a nice arrangement. And I was able to get married. And the grihastha ashram is ideal. I've been married now for 22 years. And I can testify that it is absolutely the ideal situation for most men and ladies. Because you have someone that you take care of, and she takes care of you. Then children come, and there's so much love that comes from that, because the child is helpless, and the child loves you unconditionally, and you love your child unconditionally. And that creates this bond, and especially when you're trying to be a devotee and you're performing devotional service and you're chanting Hare Krishna, you're chanting rounds every day, you're reading, you're coming to the temple, it becomes this really beautiful relationship that protects you from all of the Maya that's attacking us constantly. What's the biggest problem we have, really? Our senses, right? Our senses are like, feed me tasty food. Let me look at beautiful things. Let me touch attractive things. Let me go and enjoy the material world. I want to go out. There's so much enjoyment everywhere. Our society, this society is based on sense gratification. And so you got to go out and work like a donkey. You got to work like an ass, right? Work very hard to get some money just for a little bit of what? A movie, some intoxication, some drugs, some nonsense activities that don't make you happy, that fry your brain, that get you in trouble. You can end up in jail. You can take certain kind of drugs, will scramble your mind. You can become a vegetable now because they've got these synthetic drugs. It's so scary. One pill can kill you now, this fentanyl. And then they even have super fentanyl, which is like 50 times more powerful than even fentanyl, which is already 50 times more powerful than heroin. And now, synthetic heroin, this fentanyl, people were dropping like flies. Huge, huge epidemic of people dying. This is the material world. So how do we deal with that? Do we think that we can, go out and be a part of it and just on our own? No. We have to be in the right ashram. When you're younger, you're in brahmachari ashram. You hang out with other brahmacharis, right? And you study and you read. That's all brahmacharis do. They read all day long. They study. They worship. They get a little older, you get married. And this grihastha ashram is so nice. It's so ideal that I've been in it for a long time, and it's absolutely, you can feel how Krishna created this system and how the system works to protect you and provide for your wife, provide for your children. And it is a spiritual principle that by getting married and bringing your wife into your home and taking care of her nicely and having children and caring for them nicely, who comes to the house? Lakshmi. A wife is a griha Lakshmi, a housewife. She is the symbol of Lakshmi. And if you take care of your wife nicely, the Lord is very pleased with that. This happens even if you're not a devotee, right? It happens in Hindu society, in Christian society, in Muslim society, in Jewish society. You get married. You care for your wife. What happens? Everything comes up. Woo. I never saved any money before I got married. I couldn't save a penny. I spent everything I had immediately on sense gratification. Even after I became a devotee, I was spending it on devotional things. Then when I got married, I started to get raises. Money literally flows into your house. And you get a house. I didn't even have a house. Somehow or other, all these things manifest. And you might say to yourself, well, you worked. I was always working, so I held up my end of the bargain, right? And that's what Prabhupada says. You have to find a way to keep body and soul together. What does that mean? You can't die. But the soul leaving the body is death. So keeping body and soul together means you're keeping your soul literally inside your body, so you stay alive. What do you need to stay alive? You need to eat. You need shelter. You need hot and cold. When it's cold outside, you need heat. When it's really, really hot outside, you need cold, at least a fan. But Srila Prabhupada is giving us this really amazing explanation because he's letting us know that we shouldn't over-endeavor for the needs of the body. What does that mean, over-endeavor? Mostly it means being satisfied. If you can be satisfied with what's coming and not hanker for more and more and more, sense pleasure, material objects, money, to get those things. And Srila Prabhupada says, a sincere devotee of the Lord tries to invent some ways to earn his livelihood. And when he does so, Krishna helps him. Wow. So a lot of devotees have businesses, right? They're business people. There might naturally be Vaishyas. There might naturally be Shudra. They might naturally be a little more Kshatriya-oriented, maybe do security, or they, whatever your nature is, you can use that in Krishna consciousness. And you want to do it in such a way that it doesn't wipe you out. You want to leave time in your life to deal with the real problem. The real problem is how to get free from the bondage of birth, death, and old age. We don't need to invent unnecessary necessities. Isn't that amazing? 2 words. 3 words. Inventing unnecessary necessities, right? What do you really need? Well, we just need, prasadam, place to stay, keep the bills paid, right? But we want more. We need a car, and then we need 2 cars, And we need more clothes, and we need better clothes. Now we need some gold. You know, the wife wants to wear gold. You got to get some gold. You got to do all these things. But what's really necessary, you know? The good thing about Krishna is when you're trying, even just a little bit to be a devotee, to work for Krishna, and you're giving some of your income to the temple or to your guru, you're providing money, Lakshmi, for this movement, Krishna is happy to help you. Does that mean we're all going to be Bill Gates? We're all going to be billionaires? No. Who wants to be a billionaire? Does anybody want to be a billionaire? Nah, It brings more problems than it solves, right? How about a millionaire? Oh yeah. Just $1 million, I can deal with that. But that won't affect me, right? Well, wait a minute. What's the first thing you're going to do? Go buy some fancy motor car, get a big house, or get a better house. Maybe you already got a house. Is this house good enough? Yeah, but I have $1 million. I can get a better house. Is that what we're going to do with it if we get it? I mean, we've all already experienced this. And so the Bhagavatam is not only instructing us with concepts we don't know yet, it's reinforcing things that we know inside our heart. We already know this is true. And the Bhagavatam is here. Prabhupada is here to explain it, to help us. And we should be satisfied with whatever means of life comes automatically. Wow. Automatically? Whew. Automatically. I think part of automatic means, we have certain nature. So we need to do certain activities, right? We can't just sit around. I can't be a sannyasi. Right? I can't spend all day just studying and reading and chanting. That's not my nature. I have to be active. I like to get out and do things. So for part of my job, I'm out doing this, I'm doing that, I'm talking to people, I'm trying to solve a problem, I'm doing this, doing that. Excuse me. And so the beautiful thing is you can do that for Krishna. Wow. You can do everything for Krishna. In fact, you can Krishnaize your whole life. And it's a little harder than it sounds, right? Because when you're out working, you're out in the material world, there's temptations. Well, I don't have any prasadam. Oh, and I'm so far from the temple, and I didn't bring anything here. Maybe I'll just eat out, And then you start saying, well, I'll only eat vegetarian. I'll eat in a vegetarian restaurant. But then maybe, part of your job, you're in a business meeting, and they people want to you have to attend some function and some, and you start to make excuses, right? And you start to take chances. And that's the pull. That's the pull. That's the rub. That's where you're trying to purify your consciousness. If you don't take Krishna prasadam every meal, every day, you're polluting your consciousness. You're making it harder. You're making it just that much harder. Now, sometimes it's a necessity. We have to eat out, or we want to eat out. And so sometimes that happens. But really, we've all experienced it, that the more we can push that down and not do that, the better it is for us. And it's interesting at the end of the verse, at the end of the purport, Prabhupada says, every day the so-called leaders of modern society invent something contributing to a cumbersome way of life that implicates people more and more in the cycle of birth, death, old age, and disease. What's the latest invention that society's come up with? This is the one I thought of. That's the latest and greatest invention that is contributing to a cumbersome way of life. AI, right? That's the latest big thing. It's going to make us all not have to do any work. It's going to put us all out of business, right? It's going to take all the jobs and do everything. It's going to take over. Pretty soon the robots are going to be running the world, right? And so it's just implicating people more and more in the cycle of birth, old age, disease, and death. What happened with in Prabhupada's time, right? What came up? These inventions that have shackled us, have like imprisoned us. In the 1930s and 40s, it was television, right? Radio before that. And people are like, oh, I can listen to music or people talking. And then they're not talking to each other anymore, right? That's what people used to do. And they would perform music for each other in person. But now I can get a phonographic record and I can listen to it. After television, you had recorded records and tapes. And then you had the invention of, you didn't just have a guitar, right? Now they made electric guitars. And it's really demoniac. It can be used in Krishna service. So, George Harrison, many others have used the electric guitar, right, in the service of the Lord. But pretty much it's a base demoniac thing. It makes horrible noises. And all it's doing, it's an invention that contributes to a cumbersome way of life. Because you got to store it, you got to keep it, you got to have electricity, plug it in, you got to take care of it. Pretty soon, it's just all about this stuff I have and taking care of the stuff. And I'm missing the point of life, which is to take care of the soul. And what's the great example of that? The bird in the cage, right? You take care of the beautiful cage, you clean it, the outside, you paint it, you put gold leaf on it. What's happening to the bird inside? He's dying. She's dying because you're not feeding the bird, you're not giving it water. And the bird is the soul, right? That's us, the soul. Now, the soul can't die, we know that. But it can get pretty covered over, right? You're doing all you can to take care of the cage, your body. You're doing everything. Oh, my body's, makeup and, ooh, am I fit? Do I go run? Do I work out? Stay slim? And, oh, am I attractive to people? It's crazy. What's really important is, who we are inside. And what are we doing for our soul to prepare for its next body, right? We know we're eternal. Does everybody agree we're eternal, spirit souls? Yeah, you can feel it. It's consciousness. There's something in it. I'm in my body, right? Death is when the soul leaves the body. There's no more consciousness. It's a dead body. And so we understand from authorities, from Scripture, that there is a life after death. In fact, there's so many, you can have as many as you want, right? You can be all different kinds of bodies. And if you're sinful, Prabhupada mentions this in a purport, you got to go down and go down in the lower species of life and then go back through that evolutionary phase, right? That's what real evolution is the transmigration of the soul from one body to the next. We start out as germs. We go to smaller, simple organisms. We go to larger animal life, plant life, animal life. And eventually, Prabhupada says, when you're so fortunate, you go through the evolution and you get a human birth. Wow. So lucky. Why? Because the animals can't ask who is God. The animals can't understand spiritual activities. They can't get free from material clutches. The only form of life where you can get free from the cycle of birth, old age, disease, and death, the samsara, is the human form of life. And then beyond that, even if in a human form of life, you have to be fortunate enough to meet a pure devotee. We've all met Srila Prabhupada. We've all met his disciples. We are all surrendering to those disciples, or grand disciples, as disciples ourselves. This is a key principle of advancement in Krishna consciousness. Accept a spiritual master and take diksha initiation. And even if you don't take formal initiation, at least accept the spiritual master in your heart as a shiksha guru, advising spiritual master. But so important to have an initiating spiritual master, a person, and they have to be alive. You can't have Srila Prabhupada as your diksha guru. He's not here to initiate anymore. So you get one of his disciples who's authorized to initiate. And you know in your heart when you meet your guru, right? Did everybody know when they met their guru, those who are initiated? You knew right away, this is my spiritual master. Why? What made me know that? Super Soul. Super Soul will help you. Krishna will help you. And not only does Krishna help you know who your guru is, he comes in the form of the guru, right? Super Soul, the external form of Super Soul is the spiritual master. He's a form of Super Soul. And he's also an individual who's loving and wants to help you go back home, back to Godhead. That is an astonishing thing. Where is such mercy in the world? Where are you going to meet people that do this? There's nowhere else. Even other religions. In other religions, it's mostly very good, loving, honorable people, and they're trying their best. But what can they really give you? They can only give you the limit to what they understand in their own faith, right? Who knows about Krishna, right? Krishna appears as a little baby, right? But he's not born in the usual way. He just appears. And he's amazing. And he has pastimes. He's not, God, most people think God is, first of all, they think God's impersonal, right? He has no form. Brahmajyoti or localized Paramatma, but it's impersonal. It's not full of qualities and beautiful characteristics and pastimes and names. Oh my gosh. Krishna is so amazing. And so when you come and we get to hear a little bit about Krishna and we become attracted, we become more and more attracted the more and more we keep trying to understand Krishna. And the more we keep chanting Hare Krishna. The chanting is very important because it purifies our consciousness. Because we're under the modes of material nature, right? Goodness, passion, and ignorance. Everything we do is in one of those three modes. And it's said that those are the things that are actually doing everything. What? I thought I was doing it. The modes are so powerful that they're the things that's actually doing it. We're just like a soul stuck on a hell ride, right? Like some horror show ride. We can't do anything about it, and we're just going. But we can do something about it if we want to. We chant Hare Krishna, follow the regulator principles, get guru, surrender to a spiritual master. You can get personal advice from someone who understands you better than you understand yourself. When I first saw my Guru Maharaj, he knew me. The first minute he saw me, he knew everything about me. He knew where I was at, where my head was. I knew instantly that he knew everything about me. And he was the kindest person I ever met because he knew what my potential was. The spiritual master knows all the good and bad inside you. But that spiritual master sees the good and knows how to cultivate the good that's inside you and help you to cultivate your Krishna consciousness. And in fact, without guru, it's impossible. You have to have a spiritual master. And that spiritual master makes it so much easier. And it's also the most astonishingly wonderful relationship that you'll ever have with anyone. The spiritual master is unbelievable. If you don't believe me, listen to the remembrance series of Srila Prabhupada. Does everybody know what that is? There's interviews on tape where the devotees speak about their remembrances of Srila Prabhupada. When I came to the temple in 1994 or 95, that's what they played for Sunday class. We had a, old VCR. You remember that? The VCR tapes. And we had a big screen right here, and they would put one of those tapes on. It lasts about an hour. Some are longer, some are shorter. Some have one devotee, some have 2 or 3 devotees, some have 5 or 6 devotees. And it's edited in a wonderful way. And the devotees speak about their remembrances of Srila Prabhupada. They will blow your mind. The stories, the things you hear about Prabhupada, what you learn about Prabhupada, and you get Prabhupada's You get Prabhupada through the eyes, through the experiences of his disciples, his loving disciples, who he instructed. And they have these gem-like realizations of Prabhupada and about spiritual life and about devotion that they got from Prabhupada, and they share it on tape with everyone, with the whole world. You can hear that, and you get that jewel in your own heart from hearing it. It's astonishing. I still try to watch it as often as I can. And there's probably 70 or 80 series of the shows, of the tapes. Now they're on, DVD. Now they're on a little, card. You can get it on your computer. But one of the things that you'll experience is how loving, how stern, how funny, how humorous, how loving, how intelligent, how renounced was Srila Prabhupada. All of those things, all of the time. He was manifesting those things to his disciples in the most amazing way. And what did they do? They spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. What happened when Srila Prabhupada came to America and enlivened all these disciples to go out and do all these things is unparalleled. Jesus didn't do all that. Muhammad didn't do all that. Very small circle of influence, what they did. I'm not denying it. It was wonderful. It's great, Christianity, Islam, very important because people need faith. And it's good that people are going to Islam. It's good that they go to Christianity. It's good that they're worshiping demigods because they might not worship anybody else, right? If they're not ready for Hare Krishna, heck yeah, don't disturb demigod worship, right? Because at least they're acknowledging a higher authority. I mean, it's not good. We need to tell people, okay, you worshiped the demigods long enough. Come to the source of the demigods. Who gives the demigods power? Krishna. Same with Christians. You've worshipped Lord Jesus. You worship God through Christianity. Now come to the Father. That's what happened to me. I was raised in Christianity, and I wanted to know about the Father. And Jesus brought me here. Honest, absolutely 100%. Jesus Christ said, this is it. This is the Father. You come here and do this. And I felt bad. I was like, I don't want to apostatize. I don't want to turn my back on Jesus. And I prayed sincerely, and I got a feeling, I swear, overwhelming feeling a couple times. No, this is the path. Go this way. I even tried to backtrack a little bit, and I talked to a priest. He said, no, go where you're feeling it. Where you're feeling God's love, you go with that. What Prabhupada did and how he did it, it was impossible. The way Prabhupada ran a worldwide organization with snail mail, letters, and a telephone, right? And he didn't really use the telephone that much. And he traveled because he could travel around. He could get things in order at one place, go to another place, open another temple, make more devotees, make more disciples. And he did all this in America. He did it in Europe. Then it spread to Asia. Then what did Prabhupada do? He went back to India and he went to Vrindavan. And he even, when he was in L.A., things were going badly and he knew something was wrong. But he was having to leave and go back to India, and he didn't understand why that Rukmini Dwarkadish were literally kicking him out of Los Angeles and sending him back to India. Prabhupada says this, and the devotees, the disciples of Prabhupada substantiate this story. Prabhupada says this too. And so I had to, he goes, why are you, what do you, Prabhupada said it was because Krishna wanted to give him the Krishna Balaram Mandir in Vrindavan, which he said is 10 times more than any other temple in the world, 100 times more than any other temple in the world, Krishna Balaram Mandir. And it's that's what Krishna does. Krishna will do something fantastic, and then he'll do something even greater after that. Prabhupada was like that. He'd do something amazing and do something more amazing, something more amazing. Why? Because he's empowered by Krishna. Srila Prabhupada would never take a tiny, even scintilla, even a tiny little bit of credit for anything. He said, it's all the mercy of my spiritual master. That his spiritual master saved him. And from that, he got instructed in Krishna consciousness. And Krishna was directly helping him. So we have the relationship with Guru, but we also have Krishna directly helping us. So I went over a little bit, sorry about that. And we didn't do the Krishna House format for the Bhagavatam class, I'm sorry about that. But there wasn't any, screen, so we just did one verse. We were supposed to read like maybe 10 more. But if you like to read them, it's amazing to understand what is our, real position and how our nature can be our asset, right? By being in Grahastha Ashram, by being a householder. Any questions, comments? All right. Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.